Books teach us, they inspire us, they challenge us, and they expand our horizons. Books contain the best thoughts of the greatest minds in history, but the problem is, there are millions to choose from. So what should you invest your time reading? What should you spend your money on? How do you sort through all the bullshit and find the good shit? You let the superior men do the work. Matt and Jay take the best books, pick the most important points, and distill them down to a concentrated 30-minute podcast. We help you find the books you need to read and why you need to read them. You may even learn something. So take out your coffee, tea, a glass of wine, or a good IPA. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Welcome to the Superior Men Bookcast. And welcome to the Superior Men Bookcast. I am your host, Matt, with my fellow host, Jay.
What's up, y'all?
Word. All right, today we are talking about a wonderful book by Chris Voss and Tahl called Never Split the Difference, Negotiating as If Your Life Depended on It. This book was published in 2016. Again, I said it before we went over this real quick. Chris Voss, V-O-S-S, and Tahl, which T-A-H-L and R-A-Z. So this book, love this book. But what I was going for when because I talked about this, and I don't even remember, there was an article I wrote on we'resuperiormen.com, but where I was doing some negotiating. I referenced this book, and I had mentioned it to Jay. It was like, hey, definitely should check this out. So let's dive on into this here. So Chris Voss, who is the main information for this, sounds like Tahl helped him write it. But he was the FBI's lead international kidnapping negotiator. And basically this book is teaching what he has learned about negotiations over this time period. And really, what he's setting out to do is to show anybody how to negotiate with anything, because the process and the techniques that you learn for negotiating are the same, whether it's a kidnapper, or you're buying a car, or you're working something out with your boss, or whatever. Negotiation is a negotiation. So
it's about how to turn communication. It's communication with results.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it really is. So, what does this book kind of attempt to solve here? So,
it does a bunch of stuff. It's a powerful tool. The concept of negotiation. You want to get more money, yes. make better deals. So you're coming out on the right end of the various deals that you're in.
I want that.
Improve your interpersonal power and interactions with other people, so you're more influential.
Yep, check.
Get what you want and what you need in your interactions everywhere.
Yep.
Become a more effective leader, partner, parent, coworker, friend, next door neighbor.
All of those.
If you want to become a government official, if you want to become the president of the United States, or really to run an entire country using the military junta that you've put together with your military cronies.
Yeah, that also check. I intend on doing that as well. But
this is about influence. This is increasing the influence.
So. All right, so I know you sort of led to this too, but who's going to benefit from this book, Jay?
Who's going to benefit is anyone who wants to get better dealing with difficult people.
So everybody. Really? Come on.
So you probably know a difficult person out there. This will help. Anyone who wants to get more out of their relationships, take your relationship to the next level, whatever that relationship may be. If you want to lower your stress levels, and lower the stress levels of the people around you.
Yeah.
And anyone who loves psychology is going to love this book, just like the last bookcast that we did, 12 Rules for Life. It is probably some of the most powerful applied psychology you'll find. Matt, who won't like this book?
Really, if you just don't like to think and learn, then you're not going to like it. And I know it's like, say, well, kidnappers, criminals, it just shows them like what they did wrong. But I would say they would learn a lot from this too, because maybe they would be better at doing their ransom demands. So, how about
a little backwards?
It's true, though, right?
Backwards learning there. I like that idea.
Just saying.
Maybe it is a good idea for criminals to read this book. Criminals, if you're out there, give it up.
Yeah, right. Well, read it, and then maybe you'll be better criminals. So really, this book, very easy to read, right?
Oh yeah. It's very chatty, very conversational. I will say that it's not going to be super fast reading just because there's a lot of material to absorb. Every page seems like it has some new useful piece of information. And it builds. So over time, as you pay close attention to the beginning, he will layer data on top of data. So it gets more and more, you become more and more effective over time. We got about 260 pages in this book, in the print form, 6 to 8 hours, somewhere in that range, depending on how fast you read. Audio will be 8 hours.
But really, this is one of those ones where I said, like with 12 Rules for Life, you're going to want to study this one and read it over and over.
It's true. The book reviews and show that the popularity of this book is high enough, but also kind of what you were saying, the material is so valuable that Matt and I are starting to notice a pattern. The best books usually have other books written about that book.
Yes. Yeah. If you find something that's like summary of this, or, this is a great, great book, or here's a Cliff Notes version of this book, or another book devoted to a topic in this book, there's definitely something there.
That book has some influence, and this one has, I think, at least 2 or 3 Amazon books.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
About how to do that. How well known is this book right now?
Quite, and that's the thing. Like, there's a lot to it. It is surprising. Well, I don't know. I was surprised when I saw this. There's a lot. It's number 1 in business and communication skills. Number 1. And that's on Amazon. Number 1 in Audible on communication skills. Number 53 in Audible overall, which is nuts. And this is all as of the beginning of 2020. So for a book that was written in 2016, right? So there's a lot to it. It's good. It's great. It really a lot of people know about it. If you haven't heard about it, you need to go check it out. So,
well, if you haven't heard about this book, there's a decent chance, especially as you are in business situations or situations where you are working at kind of higher level political environments, things where there's a fair amount of communication and negotiation. Somebody else is probably going to be using these techniques on you. So either you learn or you will be learned upon.
Yep.
The one thing that grabbed my attention, because I was, looking to do a little research on the book here, prepping for the podcast, and found that it is number 16, as of, like Matt was saying, beginning of the year 2020, out of all Amazon charts, number 16. So this is there's a lot of books on the overall Amazon charts. So that's pretty impressive.
Yep.
Matt, how'd you find out about this book?
I found out about it through an Audible recommendation, and I'm like, that looks really cool. And I listened to the book. So it wasn't, I would like to come up with something more elaborate, but I didn't. So that's where I found it.
All right. And your perspective on the book, and especially how you were talking about using this book to gain a little bit more influence in negotiation as your job situation has changed and you've upgraded and taken it to the next level, that this book was helpful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you some techniques, some practical advice. That's the big thing with it.
And that inspired me. So I'm like, okay, we definitely need to do a bookcast on this, because I would like to also, take my financial situation to the next level, and in general, like, become more effective as a communicator. So that's how I found out about it, and it's been fantastic. Let's talk just quickly about Chris Voss and the background for this guy. 24-year veteran of the FBI. So that's pretty impressive right there. Mm-hmm. Just being on the FBI for 24 years, even if you're just a flunky working in the basement, like, that's pretty impressive.
Still impressive, yeah.
But he was the lead crisis negotiator for the New York branch of the FBI. So that's pretty legit right there. You could just end your career with that, and it'd be like, okay, so I'm going to have to pay attention to him. He was so good that FBI bumped him up to chief international hostage negotiator. So that's worldwide #1 for international hostage situations. So that's pretty impressive. He knows. Is there anybody that knows more than him on the subject? Maybe people that have come after him?
Yeah, what's cool, really, too, for him and seeing this is, like, this is not what he wanted to do originally. He didn't set out to be a negotiator from the beginning. I think he wanted to be on the SWAT team, but he hurt himself. Right. And so had to find something new, and I think he just kind of stumbled upon this, but really it was sort of putting pieces together, and he broke a lot of ground by putting things together that other people before him had not. So it's cool.
And that's the fascinating thing about his trajectory, and it's kind of hard to find it. We were talking about this before the bookcast, but there's not a whole lot of information about this guy, and for obvious reasons, he doesn't want everybody to know his background and to take advantage of that. But he was actually rejected as a negotiator when he first applied for it. Most of his training process was acquired during his work at the beginning of his career during a suicide hotline job. Mm-hmm. And he taught himself and helped basically work within the FBI and continued that learning curve upwards. And so not just for himself, but for the entire department, and helped take the entire thing to the next level. After working 150 international hostage cases for the FBI, he left and founded the Black Swan Group. And we'll talk about that term in just a minute here. But that consulting firm provides training and advises Fortune 500 companies through various negotiations. He's taught for many business schools, including USC's Marshall School of Business, Georgetown School of Business, Harvard University, MIT, others. He knows things about stuff.
Yeah, he does.
Matt, talk about the book itself. He's distilled his knowledge and information down into this book. Give us an overview of that.
Yeah, so just real quick. So 10 chapters laid out where really he's, he talks about the new rules. He talks a lot about what the old school negotiating was versus how to basically be a much better negotiator, how to become the smartest person in any room, how that works, how do you do this? And then he really kind of breaks down lessons. Each chapter is really a lesson, how to do things, how to do it the right way, how to be a mirror, how to establish rapport with somebody, and one of the things there's a lot of counterintuitive things on here where you think that this is not going to work out real well.
So true. You're reading they're like, that's a horrible idea. Don't do that.
Yeah. You're like that. Yeah. And then where somebody says one of the worst things, and I love this, is it's just a real quick thing, but he talks about how often does somebody say, if you're really in pain and you're saying whatever, and somebody just goes, I totally understand what you mean. That's what we're told to say. We should say, I understand what you're doing. No, you don't understand. And that makes people upset. If you think about you being somebody, if you have, if your parent just passed away and their parent hasn't passed away, and they're saying, I totally understand what it feels like. No, you don't. You don't understand. So it's cool to see that, but a lot of this is just It is step by step, and he's like, hey, and take this and work on this. Which is why I say, like, if you read this book in 6-8 hours, you've done something wrong, because you should read it, work on it, move from there. So let's go to this. So I want to ask you a few questions, Jay, and get your thoughts, and we'll go back here. So what did you like best about this book?
I would say all of the book parts. I love the psychology of it. His stories are super interesting. I even like his examples because he's a teacher and he uses a lot of student stories and how his students went and used his various tactics to make more money, or to smooth their way through situations that the average person would have made massive mistakes and made things worse for themselves. There's just, it opened my mind to the possibility of how to interact with people and gain so much more capacity, maybe smooth things out, maybe develop rapport right away, maybe take things down several notches right away. Even just something as simple as using the tone of voice to change somebody's perspective immediately. There's so much to learn in here. It's an incredible book.
Yep, it is. All right, so give me a quote or two that stands out for you.
Okay, I'm going to read fast here. I haven't memorized these. I will admit I am reading them, but they're so good that I want to get both of them in here. First one, negotiation as you'll learn it here is nothing more than communication with results. You heard me say that earlier. Getting what you want out of life is all about getting what you want from and with other people. Conflict between two parties is inevitable in all relationships, so it's useful, crucial even, to know how to engage in that conflict to get what you want without inflicting damage.
Wow.
Right? Like get what you want and don't hurt the other person. Like that's awesome. Because I mean, in relationships, you got to do that. And then the second quote is, the centerpiece of this book is tactical empathy. This is listening as a martial art, balancing the subtle behaviors of emotional intelligence and the assertive skills of influence to gain access to the mind of another person. Contrary to popular opinion, listening is not a passive activity. It's the most active thing you can do.
That's profound. Why? So tell me, just give me one of them. Why did that stand out to you?
I love the idea that, let's say the conflict one. I love the idea of Aikido, and that Aikido is a martial art that's designed so that you can potentially transform your enemy into a friend later, rather than just destroying him or, building up potential conflict. And you want to resolve a situation so that at the end of that conflict, you guys are cool with each other. It doesn't create resentment or frustration, or they're not holding things on. That's incredible. Awesome.
Well, all right. So if you can give something, like what have you learned from the book?
It makes me want to start studying more into human interaction than I have been. I guess I just kind of think I'm pretty good at it with my job and with kind of my base skill set. I feel like I have kind of a fairly comfortable situation in interacting with people, and I'm pretty good at it. And this made me go, oh crap, I have so much to learn, and in a good way. I'm excited about it.
Well, yeah, maybe you go, no, I'm lousy at this. All right. Well, do you have a critique? What's your critique?
I couldn't come up with any. I couldn't. That's nothing. I loved it. It was great.
This one's hard. I mean, it's just like, hey, what do you hate about this? The directions on this recipe, and you're like, it's pretty damn good. I mean, I don't know.
It's hard. It's hard. Give me maybe on the third or fourth read through, I'll be like, it took me this long to learn it, just because there's so much. But it's just so much good information that it's not. Right. I think the critique would be me that I don't know all of it yet. That would be my critique.
Right. Okay. Yeah. What about any questions that you would have? Anything left unanswered?
I would really just like to sit down and maybe get Voss on our podcast and just dig into his personal life story. and find out how he became who he is. I mean, he just seems like such a down-to-earth, likable guy. And to put somebody like that in the most stressful situations, the average person would be just toast.
Right.
On any given day of his job. Like, they literally wouldn't even be able to make it. They probably wouldn't go beyond the first 30 seconds of one negotiation and they'd be like, I'm out. And so how do you become that kind of person that can do that? That's super interesting to me.
Yeah, I see that. Any related connected books?
The one book that comes to my mind is a real interesting book called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. And that book it's about convincing other people to buy stuff, to get stuff, to do things. And that I really enjoyed that book as well. So I definitely recommend it. We have a link to it here in the show notes as well. If you're interested, it's well worth a read.
I've heard that in sales with salespeople talking about that book. So
great.
But all right, cool.
Yeah. Let's give you an opportunity to talk about this book. What did you like best, Matt?
So it's honestly going to be very similar to 12 Rules for Life, because it literally lays down a framework on how to do stuff, and even better than 12 Rules for Life. Here is a technique. Here's how I use the technique. Here is how you apply that technique. Here are some ways that you can go out and do it. And then for each one of them, like, that's what it is. It's like, take this, work on it. How can you do it? And it tells you too that conversation is a skill. It's not something that you don't just know how to do it. So working on and how to negotiate is learned, and there are steps and there's ways to get good at it, and he lays out how to get good at it.
Man, that's awesome. Kind of like coming back to that quote I was mentioning earlier, that idea of martial art. If tactical empathy is learning as a martial art, and how long would it take to get good at martial arts? So, the idea that you're learning from that book, there's so much to learn. That's awesome. Give me a quote or two that you liked.
I do. I have a couple. One's real short. He who has learned to disagree without being disagreeable has discovered the most valuable secret of negotiation.
I disagree.
Well, why do you have to be so disagreeable?
That's a good one, man.
Right? I mean, it's like, wait, did he disagree? Wait, does he not agree with what's happening? Why am I going along with him?
He said no, but I feel good.
Yeah, he says no, but I like it. The other one is negotiate in their world. Persuasion is not about how bright or smooth or forceful you are. It's about the other party convincing themselves the solution you want is their own idea. So don't beat them with logic or brute force. Ask them questions that open paths to your goals. It's not about you. And I think that, to me, distills what that negotiation is. You want them to arrive at your perspective. That's what you want. That is what a negotiation is. I want them to come to where I am.
From their point of view to get to where you want them to see it.
Yep. So I got it. And if I just say I want my outcome is this, and then they're just going to be like, nope, that's not it. And it's like, well, right. You want them to discover your outcome through their own path, which is cool. So I like that.
That's great. That's great. And this book will help you do that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
What did you learn from this book, or how did it change you?
Well, for me, I say I applied these principles directly when I was negotiating for my new position. So I think it helped me professionally make sure that I had all the ducks in a row that I needed, and that I had what I needed to get taken care of for my new position that I have. So I like it. I think how it changed me is I saw practical steps in that book, and I used and applied them, and it worked.
Okay. So you're reading the book in like right away. You're able to apply it and make changes and position yourself better for your new opportunities.
Yeah, because it was shortly after I got the book. I mean, really, it wasn't all that long afterwards that's when I started kind of doing my negotiations. So worked out really well.
Very cool. So there you go. You got an immediate example of the book in action.
Right.
Matt, what did you like least?
I hate to say nothing. I really do.
The front cover? You didn't like the...
I don't know how to say it. So, I think just to move past the book. I don't really have... So I'd say nothing with the book, but moving past it and going through it, and as far as I'm concerned, it had a really... Like, it's technical issues where, like, he connects stuff up with his website, and then it didn't work out real well as far as getting the connections up with his website and getting additional information and whatever. So I would say that's my only critique, and maybe it was me, but that would be my only thing.
Okay. All right. So your main critique of the book is not so much even about the book, but more about the technical stuff afterwards.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive statement right there. What questions would you ask Voss if you had the chance?
I would like to know how he really set about convincing other people within his own profession that what he was doing was the best. That his method was the best. I think that's I think that would probably be the hardest negotiating he did. So I'd like to know how that worked for them to change their methodology.
The inter-office, inter-political structure and changing that. Yeah. Well, because that's the kind of thing we're talking about a second ago, that idea of conflict with people that you are in relationship with. It's easy enough to deal with hostage-type situations and then be like, that's it, I'm done. I never have to talk to them again. But these people, you have to talk with them for 20 years. So,
right.
Yeah. How about connected or related books? Anything else you want to say?
So not directly with this, but 12 Rules for Life, just because I love the planning and working out with all of it. I think that if you like one of these, you would like the other one. So if you like 12 Rules for Life, you're going to like this book, and vice versa.
Okay. Well, 12 Rules is such an amazing book. It in its own way, it's just practical applied psychology and powerful tools. Any final thoughts here before we go?
No, you really should go out and read this. If you've ever had to negotiate anything at any point, or you are afraid of it, or if you're somebody where you're like, I need to take somebody along with me when I buy a car, you need to read this book and apply these tools. I mean, if this gives you nervous sweats thinking about trying to convince somebody of something, you need to read this book.
This is an amazing book. Once again, the book is Never Split the Difference. Negotiating as if your life depended on it. Chris Voss and Tahl. Thank you very much for listening. We'll talk again soon.
A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one. Thank you for listening to the Superior Men Bookcast. Share it with a friend. You heard our thoughts. Go read it for yourself.